Hello, and today I'll be teaching you the perfect balance for a boxing and weightlifting routine. So here we've got some images. We've got one where it's hardcore boxing, one which is extreme weightlifting, and one which is the extreme side of bodybuilding. Let's continue on to the first slide now. Now, we want to find the perfect balance for this. So I've created some example routines you could go by. So on Monday you could do a boxing class, Tuesday push day, Wednesday boxing class, Thursday lower body, Friday boxing class, Saturday pull day, and Sunday rest. This is if you're accustomed to doing a lot of training and you have the time to do so. But if you only have about 4 days a week, I'd say is the minimum that you should be training if you're prioritizing boxing and weightlifting. Would be boxing one day, upper body the other day, boxing one day, and lower body the other day. The other 3 days you can take a rest. This is probably if you're in college or high school, I'd recommend doing this. But if you're out of college and you're ready to commit fully, then I'd say do a 6 day routine. But it is important to find a schedule that does suit you. So maybe you could be training twice in one day or whatever you like, but just prioritize what you think is most important at that time. Next, I'm going to be going through the different splits. So here you see, like I said, I've got the push, pull, leg split. If you're interested in that, click on this timestamp here. However, if you're interested in the upper body, lower body split, then skip to this timestamp here. So for upper body, I would recommend doing dips and pull-ups most importantly. Dips because you're going to be throwing a lot of punches, you need that tricep and chest power. And calisthenics really does emphasize this because you start to feel confident with your own body, being able to move yourself around, which you do need when you're fighting. Pull-ups the same sort of thing, but just for your back muscle. This might not be as important if you're doing boxing, but if you're doing MMA or something like that, or wrestling, this would probably be more important. Second up, the landmine press. This is more just for endurance, so this is actually an exercise I would say to do upwards of 30 reps, no less than 15 reps, and find a weight that's comfortable that you can just keep repping out for quite easily until eventually the burn gets too much. That's the kind of exercise that one is. Bent over barbell row. This is kind of the opposite to the last one. This is where you want to be focusing on a bit more strength side, so you don't want to be doing less than 8 reps, but you don't want to be doing more than 12 reps, I would say. This is for the back muscles. Skull crushers, this is just extra tricep work because personally I think that the triceps are probably the most important muscle, especially for punching power. So this is going to be also a lower rep exercise, building that strength. Hammer curl, you've got to get the arms in there. So bicep, also for pulling power, but mainly to just round off your physique in general, because remember that we're prioritizing both sides, bodybuilding and boxing. So you have to have some sort of a balance here. I've got a few pictures in order as well for the exercises: dips, pull-ups, landmine press, bent over barbell row, skull crushers, and hammer curls. If you need any tutorials, I'll link them down in the description. Now for lower body, I would say that squats are probably the most important if you had to do one exercise, but hip thrusts are probably nearly as important because the squats just build your overall strength in your legs. You could probably do this and get away with not doing anything else, but we're not that type of person. We're going to put in the extra work and we're going to do some hip thrusts as well for the glutes and hamstrings. Notice how the glutes are emphasized throughout this whole routine is because they're actually really important for punching power and for that leg drive. Most of your power will come from your glutes, and that's why I prioritized it. Then after the hip thrust, you've got a split squat or lunge variation. This is because it just comes down to how much you like the exercise and how much you think you can progress on it, because split squats and lunges kind of give the same sort of results in the end. But next, Nordic curl. These are for the hamstrings. Don't worry if you can't do this. Use a resistance band or get a friend to help you because this is very hard. You could also just go for as long as possible and then push back up every single time and try and control the negative on the way down. I know this isn't actually lower body, but on the lower body days you want to be throwing in ab exercises because you won't have time. I'd rather have 6 exercises one day and 6 exercises the other day rather than 8 exercises one day and 4 exercises the other day. Do you know what I mean? So we've got an oblique exercise. I would say the landmine oblique twist is probably my favourite, as we've got shown down here. I'll go through that in a minute. Then for abs, I would do something that I was weak at. So my lower abs are my weakest, so I do hanging leg raises. But if your upper abs are weak, then I would probably say to do something like crunches or sit-ups. Here I've got diagrams of what to do. So in order, once again: squats, hip thrusts, lunges or split squats, Nordic curl, landmine oblique twist, and then hanging leg raises. Now, if you're interested in the push-pull legs routine, we're going to start off with push day, probably the most important, I would say, dips, and this is to build that overall like pushing strength and also to feel confident with what you're doing, how you're moving your body around. So this is going to emphasize the tricep and the chest, which is probably the most important for actual power in your punches. Then next we've also got incline dumbbell press because we're trying to keep that balance between bodybuilding and also boxing and performance. Next we've got skull crushers because the tricep is the most important for punching power. So there's throwing in a strength exercise in there also. Landmine press, this is more of a burn it, feel it out exercise where you're just going to be repping it out for 20 to 30 reps. It's not as important for muscle growth, but it's more important for endurance. Lateral raises, now this isn't particularly any good for any sort of martial art really, because when you're lifting your arm out to the side, but to give you that aesthetic, like wide look that everybody wants, then this is just the number one thing that you have to do, so I just felt the need to throw it in there at the end. And here we've got how to do them on little diagrams. So we've got the dips in order to the exercises: dips, incline dumbbell press, skull crushers, landmine press, and lateral raises. Then we've got pull day. So we're starting off with pull-ups, probably the most important because it's a bodyweight exercise, focusing on core and your back. I've not mentioned that there because people mostly think pull-ups is your back, but try them out, you will feel your core. Then we've got bent over barbell row. This is more for strength reasons, so you're going to be doing a bit lower reps on this exercise and just trying to pull as much weight as possible. Hammer curls are going to develop your biceps and forearms, making your grip strength better overall. Lat pullovers is just to finish off that back portion because lats make it as wide as possible, so this is going to give you more aesthetics. And farmer's carry, once again, is for grip because grip is really important in martial arts and boxing, really, because you want to be keeping that fist shape and also be able to not let your hands go down or anything like that or fatigue. And here we've got some diagrams. We've got them in order to the exercises above: pull-ups, bent over barbell row, hammer curl, lat pullovers, and farmer carries. Now on to leg day. So we're going to be starting off with squats because it's the most important. I think you could probably get away with just doing squats and not doing anything else, but I would say hip thrusts are just to finish it off, just also equally important, near enough. So notice how they're both emphasizing the glutes. It's because it's the most powerful muscle in my opinion for that twist and that power in your punches and to push off from your legs. It's very important. And then you're going to be doing a split squat or lunge variation. This because it provides the same sort of results. It just depends what you want to do in general. Nordic curls. Now you probably can't do a Nordic curl. They're very hard, like extremely hard. So just focus on the negatives. Use a resistance band or just get your friend to help you. Now I know the abs aren't actually a part of the lower body, but would you rather do 8 exercises on one day and 4 on the other, or 6 and 6 and have it equal? Yeah. So you're going to be doing an oblique exercise, probably a landmine oblique twist for me, because I think you actually just feel it the most, and finding an oblique exercise that you actually feel is very hard to do. An ab exercise that you can be doing is crunches or leg raises. If you have weaker lower abs, you should be doing hanging leg raises, but if you have weak upper abs, then you should probably do crunches. It just depends on you, but don't try and do both of these because you'll probably fatigue too quickly and notice minimal results. And then we've got an actual diagram of what to do in order to the exercises. So we've got squats, hip thrust, split squats or lunges, Nordic curl, landmine twists, and hanging leg raises. Now we're going to get onto some tips in general. So when you do these exercises, I would recommend doing them standing up if you have the option. This is because it's going to engage your core more, and we know the core is very important for stabilizing your body and standing upright and being able to take those big shots during a fight. Next up is to perform an exercise with no lower than 8 reps but no higher than 20. Obviously I said before the landmine press goes up to 30, so just ignore that, but in general what I mean is you don't want to be going to quote unquote failure where you're not actually failing, you're just getting fatigued. Your muscles could push on, but the burn is so bad that you don't want to continue. That's not failure. Also, to get your cardio in, but don't over fatigue yourself. So if you're fatiguing yourself before a workout with like intense cardio, then you're not going to perform as well, obviously. So I think with all this big routine, especially if you're doing 6 days a week, steady state cardio like walking or just active stretching would not do you any harm, and you're going to be burning them calories more. And it could also increase the recovery in between rest times, so I would recommend doing this. Then I think active stretching is very important. People just stretch with static stretches, which is like the ones where they hold the hand above the head or they hold the hamstring up behind the back. That's actually going to worsen your strength and potential for any sort of strength in your body. People don't realise this because they've not tried out active stretching. It's where you're moving whilst you're stretching. I've got a little picture next to me on the left. That's the actual thing that's going to engage your muscles and get it ready and prepared to perform at its full capacity. Then we move on to how to actually find a martial arts gym. This might sound like a stupid question, but it needs to be said because people don't ask around. Which is the first one? Ask friends, ask family, ask anyone you know who does martial arts, because if they're doing martial arts, they're going to know a good gym, especially if they are known for being good at the martial arts themselves. Next up is to search up martial arts gym near me. Very simple, very easy, but just find the closest one because most likely it's going to do the same thing as the one that's seemingly better but further away, especially for a beginner. Try and find one that's also worse looking, and what I mean by this is you don't want one that's fancy and just hands over everything. You want one that's a little tiny bit dingy but not actually like dirty. They're the ones that you can notice don't care about putting money into the what they're doing, like back into them and earning themselves money. They're putting money into making capable fighters. They actually want to make fighters that do well, and they don't just focus on the money. And if all fails, just go home, learn how to spar with your friends, get a boxing bag, have a bit of fun whilst you can, whilst you're starting, because it does get quite serious when you get into the upper level. I'm not even there yet, but I just know from watching fighters that it does get pretty intense. Here I've got some pictures of someone punching the bag, say what you could do at home, sparring your friends. You could also do that at home. I've done that before with my friends on the channel if you've seen that. Then we've got like one of these karate dojos where they just hand out belts for money basically. I think that's a load of crap. You're not actually learning anything except from little kiddie moves that wouldn't work anywhere practically. But then we've got a little more like plain wall, mats on the floor, one boxing ring, 2 punching bags. That's it. That's all you need to start. But that is all I have to say. Thank you for watching. If you want to be nice, you could click on one of these videos here. Goodbye.